Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. On today's discussion, we'll be talking about Saturday's 3-3 draw at West Ham, what we need to do to put things right going forward, and the importance of the wage bill. You know, is there an imbalance at Arsenal? Are we paying certain players too much and certain players too little? All that and the listeners' questions as well. Joining me to break bread this evening to discuss all these matters are regulars Clive and Mark. How you doing, fellas? You all right, considering?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you.
I had a lovely day with you yesterday, mate, apart from the 90 minutes of shit that we had to watch, but it was a great day other than that.
Indeed. And Alan's fresh from taking everyone's money at the entry yesterday. How are you, sir?
Very well indeed. Good to be back.
Yeah, a good day yesterday, was it, apart from the Arsenal result up there in Liverpool?
Do you know what? I was in the press room at Aintree, and amazingly, most of the press that write about horse racing are actually West Ham fans. So they were sort of crowding around my iPad while we watched on the BT Sport app. And I'm not usually that chirpy about Arsenal, I must say. I don't sort of do the, we're 2-0 up and give it the rub down and that. And yesterday, for some reason, I started doing it. So obviously, was that team, you just can't trust them, can you? They make you look an idiot. So obviously I got a hell of a lot of stick and then got on with a race. Good race for bookmakers because there was a big outsider that won. So yeah, good day all in all.
It will be a long time before Arsenal rules the world, that's for sure, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so the 3-3 draw. Let me just, I put a tweet out earlier and I just want to relay it to you guys and you tell me what you think. The 3-3 draw, for me, framed and encapsulates Arsenal's season. 2-0 up. That's like our early season form. Everyone thinks we're going to win the league. 3-2 down, the mid-season slump. You know, everyone's pulling their hair out. Same thing every season. Then in the late rally, 3-3, we save our season and get a top 4 place. Clive, do you think that's a pretty fair reflection of Arsenal rinse and repeat season after season?
Yep, that's pretty fair. But you missed out one bit.
Go on.
Last bit on the pod we talk about, well, the team picks itself. Same team. But Peter Cech comes back in. But oh no, the manager decided, because he's a wonderful moral guy, that you know what, Ospina's had a good bit of form, so I'm not going to pick the one player that we brought in to bring composure and assured play to our back line that we spend a lot of money on, with well-capitalised player, probably our most expensive player, if you look at the capitalisation of his age and his contract. We'll leave him on the bench for another week in a game where they've got a 6'4" centre forward and dealing with lots of crosses. I just think that really disappoints me, actually, the way Cech has been managed this year. He's missed a couple of crucial European games, which cost us potentially top of the group, which then manifested into us being, kicked out of Europe in our normal position. And then yesterday was a day, I think, for a calm, winning, experienced, large, full of presence goalkeeper that reads crosses early and doesn't punch them out and actually catches them. So that's a classic Wenger moment. Just when you think everything's picking up, he decides to find a hole we can all throw ourselves in.
Mark, going on from Clive's point, people were saying yesterday on the timeline that, hindsight's a brilliant thing, but surely a 6'6" defender like Per Mertesacker would have been a great person to have in there. I mean, first of all, let's go back to Wenger's comments. He wasn't even aware that Andy Carroll would start in. I mean, that's a bit of a flaw in it, a faux pas in it on the manager's part.
Firstly, Arsene Wenger being aware of what the opposing team is going to do or who's going to play, in being unaware rather, doesn't surprise me. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He doesn't prepare in that way. He prepares the best 11 that he thinks he's got to go out and play, and he just says, "Yeah, go out and play and do your thing." Yeah, so no, it doesn't surprise me. Second thing, no, I'm not gonna say that Mertesacker would have made any difference to that. Yeah, I rinsed Mertesacker after the Watford Cup game because of his inability in the air for a guy of his height. Yeah, so I don't think he'd have made a great deal of difference. To my mind, in all honesty, it's not about how tall you are. It's about two things. It's about organisation and it's about desire to win the ball in the air. And I don't particularly think Mertesacker excels in either of those things now. He might have done a while back, but not now. So it's I don't think it would have made any odds. What you have to do is you have to prepare yourself to understand that a team may well target your fullbacks with a big man and feed off him in that way, and they nearly profited twice when the game was goalless from that tactic. So no, I disagree. Wenger doesn't care who's playing for the other team because it doesn't bother him. And two, no, Mertesacker I don't think would have made any difference whatsoever because he might be 6'4", but when he jumps in the air, he only gets to about 6'5".
Alan, you've heard the other two giving their opinions on how we played yesterday and who didn't play. I mean, Clive said that Cech in goal, not being in goal, big miss, lack of organisation and leadership on the field and the back line, massive deficiency. We've seen it all too often. But what's your thoughts on it, Alan?
Well, obviously I work for West Ham sponsors, so I've probably seen them a bit more than I was just about to say, a bit more than I would have liked, a bit more than Arsenal this season. So, sort of going into yesterday's game, I just mentioned to a few people that when Andy Carroll plays for West Ham, the team take a very long while to adjust to the way that they have to play when he's leading their line. And in that first 20 minutes yesterday, we exploited their inability to adapt their normal passing game where they like to go to the wings with the ball. It was actually Carroll drifting out to the wing. And it happened a few times in the first half, in the first 20 minutes. When Carroll actually drifts out, he seems to get the ball, turns round really slowly, can't find someone else to pass the ball back to, and seems to just sort of hit a diagonal cross-field pass, and our midfielders were picking it up. And we experienced a lot of sort of turnover in possession there and won the ball a hell of a lot there and exploited the fact that they had to change the way they were playing. So obviously what West Ham needed to do was to get other players in the wide positions so that Carroll could be in the middle where he's more effective, where he could get goals. And we waited about 45 minutes for them to sort themselves out doing that, twiddling our thumbs instead of exploiting the fact or trying to keep them on that rack. And that's exactly what happened. And he scored goals from the three positions that even if you don't know that he's going to be in the squad, even if you don't know that he's going to be starting, you know that he's fit. You know he's going to come on for 20 minutes, even if... I just don't get that there's this lack of preparation and knowing anything about the opposition. I read quite a good interview with David Bentley. We all remember him. David Bentley in midweek. Sorry to go off at a tangent, but I read a really good interview with him in midweek, and he's talking about opening a bar in Spain. He become disillusioned with football. They talked to him about that goal in the 4-4, that terrible night at the Emirates. Yeah. And he said before that game, he said Harry Redknapp came in, and Harry had this. He's got this persona, hasn't he, that he's a bit thick, and he, just says, just kick the ball, lads, and we'll be fine. He said Harry Redknapp came over to him, and he said, I've been watching this keeper all year. He really likes to come off his line, and the way what we've studied about Arsenal has told me this. So don't be afraid to try from long distance. Just that little bits of attention. Do you imagine any of our players getting any of those little words of wisdom any time that guy's been at our club? Any time anything's been said that's been as relevant as that or has produced something just out of the blue? And we didn't do it yesterday, and I'd have had Cech in there. I mean, the thing is, the Olympiacos game proved that you couldn't necessarily rely on Ospina. And although he's been fantastic backup recently, awards are not given. Arsene Wenger needs this thing said to him. Awards aren't given out for your loyalty to players. Awards aren't given out for you being nice to players. Awards aren't given out in the same way that he should be told that awards aren't given out for keeping 100 million in the bank. Well, exactly that. All these little things that he needs to be reminded of. But the fact that a load of journalists will say, "Oh, isn't it wonderful that he was loyal to Ospina?" Well, it wasn't, because the back four are uncertain. And just the final point, because I've gone round the houses here to make a few points, but Koscielny and Mertesacker, as you said, I mean, how many times have we seen them bottle the kind of challenges that I've seen Leicester today throw themselves in front of 20 odd times in a game?
True. Okay. So we've all had your rants. Let's take it back. We are in cruise control. West Ham set up with 3 at the back and 2 on the wing there, Cresswell and Antonio, giving them the width. And as Alan had said, I think they took a long while to adjust, and they seemed to be maybe it was the adjustment period, but they were second to the ball. We were in them, we were amongst them. Iwobi, Ozil and Sanchez and the front four were playing lovely triangles and getting in behind them, and the 2 goals were fantastic. And I turned to you, Mark, at 40, I don't know how many minutes it was, and I said, how long till half time? Because we were in cruise control. And you said another 3 minutes. And then about a minute later, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand it. Why we're still pressing for. Why can't we manage a game? Why can't we manage a game? It's 2-0. There's 2 or 3 minutes till half time. Get in. We can relax. We can go out and do more of the same. We know that West Ham's going to have to come out and probably change things and play a different way and whatnot. We can pick them off, but it didn't happen. We're going at half time 2-2. I mean, Mark, tell me what the fuck happened, man?
Well, the problem is, mate, and we've said this time and time again. We've said it all this season, and I do feel we've said it in seasons before. Is that there is no in-game management. Yeah, there is no one that goes, when there's a break in play, and you get plenty of breaks in play, there's no one that goes, look at the clock on the scoreboard and see that we're on 40 minutes, and that says to every unit, every person in the team, there are 5 minutes left, we keep this nice and solid now, we haven't got to score another goal, the important thing is we go in at half time 2-0 up. Nobody does that. It doesn't come from the touchline, and it doesn't come from within the team, so nobody gets them focused. Yeah. Now people go on about, it's not about shouting and pointing, etc., etc. But you know what? Sometimes when you are in the middle of a game, yeah, you need somebody just to get your head back and focus on something and say to you, 5 minutes left, 2-0 up, we go in 2-0 up. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. So when that happens, is the players cannot, if they do not focus on that, they start to little bits of panic. And you look, I think the first goal may have come from when there was a ball came in, and I think Gabriel might have headed it out for a corner. Either the first, I think it was the first goal or the second goal. I can't remember now. I didn't watch it last night, so I'm only going on what we saw there. But there was a ball come over and Gabriel headed it out, and I think from that came either the first or the second goal. There's too much panic because they're not focused. Yeah, there is no team. I watched the second half of that Leicester game today, and I was really, really impressed at the fact that they are all working their bollocks off, every single one of them,
absolutely,
as a team,
yes,
for each other, for the club, for the fans. They are working so hard, and I've seen, and you know what really makes me sick is having seen all these people banging on about the fact that Tottenham have still got players running well into the late 80th minute, and Leicester, and all they can say is, they're on peds, they're doping, blah blah blah. It's like, mate, these people, why are you being so bitter about it? Do you not understand? These Leicester players are Leicester players substandard to the players we've got. If anyone is going to try and tell me that Huth or Wes Morgan is a better defender technically, yeah, than Koscielny, I will say bollocks. They're not. But you know what? They've got the desire and the heart and the just want to do whatever they need to do.
And as you mentioned, the degree of intelligence to actually carry that through. And
every time they've got 11 of them that are doing it, and we just have not got that. There is no focus. They are just, it's such a laissez-faire attitude amongst our players. It's just go out and play, lads. Go out and enjoy yourself. And I'm sick and tired of spending 60 quid or £56, thanks to the £4 discount. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful. Tug my forelock. £56 to go to a shithole like Upton Park in a shitty area like the East End. and watch our team go 2-0 up. And I thought it was a bitty game. They had a goal wrongly ruled out. That goal they scored, it should have been a goal. The linesman, thank God, he let them off that one. But it was a nothing game. And then we got the first goal, we get another goal, and somebody should be there telling them, right, we go in at 2-0. We go in at 2-0. We let them think about the fact they're 2-0 down. Not let them get back to 2-2. It's a fucking travesty. It is an absolute joke. I cannot explain. Mate, I tell you what, anyone who listens to this, go and listen to Hugh Wizzy. Look him up on Twitter. Go and listen to his rant. And because his rant was about 6 minutes compressed of complete ball-breaking shouting at the team. And he's right. He's right with everything he says. I'm sick and tired of watching the same shit happen every so many games every season for the last few years. Something has to change. Please, God, something has to change, because we cannot carry on like this.
Clive, there's 2 points of failure in the goals we conceded. First of all, we didn't stop it at source. We allowed. I think it was Monreal's worst game in a long time. I mean, Antonio really bullied him and roughed him up and got the better of him time and again. And then on the other side, he had Cresswell crossing it as well. We didn't stop the goals from source. Martin Keown was on Match of the Day, and he said, in special circumstances, when you have a player like Andy Carroll, facing up against you, what he used to do, what he would do with Lee Dixon is to say, let's swap positions. You go inside, I'll go back, and I'll take care of Andy Carroll. 2 points of failure in there. Why didn't we? You say that, you've said in recent times, Gabriel and Koscielny are the future. Runner games, they're going to get better. What went wrong?
Gabriel and Koscielny should be the future, but it's not about individuals' competencies. It's about the system that you play. So you speak about Wes Morgan and Hoof. They don't leave green grass behind them because they're not great running. What they do is allow players to go wide, and the fullbacks stay close to them. They don't push on, and they say, "Go on, then you cross it." If you cross the ball to Wes Morgan and Robert Hoof, you're not winning that, right? So they play into a system. So we have Gabriel and we have Koscielny, two tearaway quick, aggressive centre halves. So what do? We end up let Andy Carroll push us back into our box. Once you're in the box with Andy Carroll, he's in charge. What we should do when we have those two defenders is play a lot higher, engage a lot sharper, be on the front foot, and really don't let that guy get any legs, or even get him encouraged to the box. And say to him, if you want to come near our goal, mate, you're going to have to outrun me, and you can't outrun me. So the way we played yesterday, we may as well have had Mertesacker in our team, because he's quite good at organising a deep line defence. We should have been far higher up the pitch, far more engaging, far more aggressive. So again, it comes back to preparation, right? So, and to touch on Mark's point about focus, I watched the game again today. I watched it from minute 30, right? And minute 30, we're passing the ball around, triangle offence, nice and smooth. Ball comes inside to Iwobi, he flicks it up over defensive head. Sanchez, 2-touch, goal. Slick. Arsenal football, Arsenal goal. After that, we go into the left-hand channel about 3 times. Welbeck runs back to the crowd. He sticks his tongue out at the supporters. He doesn't quite control one. He has another chance, gets run down by Antonio. And we're just taking the mickey, basically. We're just playing. We're just in that playerish mood. Typical Wenger football. We're not thinking it's minute 42 on the clock and we're 3 minutes away from half time, we're 2-0 up. That's when you need someone to say, you tuck in here, you tuck in there. Let's play in their half for 5 minutes. That's all. We go in at 2-0 and then we have a look at what we're doing and where we're playing, how we're playing. What do? Flicks round the corner, Iwobi loses it, no pressure on the ball, cross goal, right? And then again, second goal, cross comes in. Just we need a calm goalkeeper to catch it, lie down on the floor, look around, roll it out to fullback, get it back, kick it out half time. What's he do? Punches it into an area where they can recycle the ball, recycle it to Andy Carroll, deflection, goal. We walk into the crowd, the camera flashes on Ozil, and I'm thinking, I wonder what you're thinking, mate. I wonder what you're thinking.
Yeah, but
You've done your...
Clive, honestly, let me ask you this question. With that second goal, right, let me ask you, what did you think of Ozil's defending after the ball got when Ospina punched the ball out? Please tell me, please explain to me how a man who has won a World Cup winner's medal can defend the edge of his box the way that he did. Please explain it to me.
Yeah, Mark, you know what? We didn't buy Mesut Ozil for his defending, right? And as a collective unit, we're not in the right starting position. We didn't have the right people on the pitch. We had the right goalkeeper on the pitch. We haven't got a collective assurance and composure. I went to the Watford game last week, and I'm not being funny. We won that game jogging, right? We won it easy. There was a little period in that game, just at 1-0, when Watford had 5 or 10 minutes, and during that period, we looked really rocky. And we really struggle to manage any type of adversity. If the game is going our way, everything is great. But when it doesn't go our way, where do we turn? There is nobody of that type that manages the moments of adversity during the game. There's nothing there. There's no substance. So we have all this wonderful talent, and it is wonderful. When we play well, our first 2 goals were tremendous, right? They're typical Arsenal goals, right? You can't say you didn't enjoy it. It was beautiful. And from minute 30 to minute 42, I'm looking at this game, and I'm like you, Alan. I don't normally go off early. In the bar I was in, I was giving it to some people in there. and I never do that. I never do.
It's weird, isn't it? It just made me, I don't know what it was about yesterday.
But yesterday, we looked brilliant. I'm looking at this game, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I knew it was going to happen. I told you last week, G, I said, we're going to win the game easy.
I'll tell you what, Clive and Alan, what you guys were doing in the pubs and whatnot, and Andrew, we were doing in the ground, weren't we, Mark? There was that guy in the orange jacket, the West Ham fan, the Satsuma guy. We were all giving it to him, 2-0 up. We were giving him terrible stick at 2-0, weren't we? He was getting killed. It was brilliant banter.
It was about 40 minutes. It was at 45 minutes at half time, and I tweeted "Revenge of the Satsuma," and I thought anyone on Twitter would be like, "What on earth is he talking about? That makes no sense whatsoever." But anyone at the game would have understood exactly what that was about. It was 20 minutes. That poor fella got laced, and then he gave it back to us.
Gave it back with interest. But go on, Clive. Sorry.
Oh no, but you know why we all did it? Because we know we're better than them. Yet we've managed to walk away with a 3-3. We scored. It's not right. So there was when we went 2-1, we've gone through them again. We've ripped in. Monreal's had a cross shot. We could have scored there. We were way superior. But we're Arsenal. We're vulnerable. We'll give you a chance. We won't defend at the critical moment, Mark. You know what I mean? We won't put our tackle in. We will try to flip round the corner. I mean, something happened today on the website, right? And it epitomises Arsenal. I don't know if you all saw it.
Oh, Ramsey's flick.
Oh, my God. Do
you know what?
Did you see Ramsey's flick? And I'm thinking, and DT spotted it before I did, and DT, right? Me and him are slightly different the way we view football, but you know what? We're Arsenal fans, right? I find myself agreeing with DT. He's coated them. I'm in.
Do you know what? There was a worse tweet that followed 3 minutes later, because they actually took the time out to tweet that Nacho Monreal nearly scored a goal.
Yeah.
That was the whole basis of the tweet was that he nearly scored a goal.
But what does that tell you? What does that tell you about Arsenal? What does that?
Well, I was going to make. I was going to make a wider point about that and just say that.
Go for it, man.
Well, look, music moves on, and films and different things move on in life. You get a bit older, and then you suddenly start saying, "Oh, I don't, like this new music. I don't like this new." You never expect it to happen with football because it's as an interest in your life, it's broadly quite a simple thing, isn't it? You support a team, you want them to win. Now, this Twitter just opens up a whole new dimension, and to be able to see that the club can tweet those two things today, And bear in mind, someone has genuinely taken the time to construct those tweets as part of their job and think that we all want to see it. We don't. But the amount of people that favorited and retweeted it around the world just goes to show that if you start thinking that this club isn't for you anymore, there are plenty of people around the world that just lap up every single bit that the club give to them. And it's not what we grew up with. It just makes such a divide. These people just have a totally different way of viewing this club. They really do. And the people inside the club probably just lap that up and think, do you know what? If we get 2,000 retweets for Ramsey doing a flick that, in a game that was...
That didn't end in it didn't end in a shot. He should have gone down. If he was a good player, he should have gone down and got a penalty. Right? And then we win the game.
Do you want to know?
But he didn't go down.
I'll tell you. But will
there be a meeting? Will there be a meeting at the end of at the end of the month where the marketing team sit round at Arsenal and say they got 2,000 retweets? Well done, mate. Well done. And they just won't care that we. Sorry.
I'll tell you a funny thing, mate. The fella that runs the Arsenal social media or does the social media, he's a Liverpool fan. I know that for a fact.
Well, they took out a load of the Arsenal fans from the internal positions at the club a couple of years ago, didn't they? They had a clean sweep of. Yeah, they did. I don't know if you ever remember Daniel Guy, who used to be his parents used to run the junior gunners, didn't they? And they had a nice core set of local Arsenal fans that were in good positions at the club and held the club to their heart. And Gazidis went through it and started sort of trying to get in people that were known more for what they actually do in their particular role than having the club close to their heart. And surely a mix would have been better.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. All right, let's get back to the football. 2-2 half time. Come out second half. It's more of the same. I mean, we're making Andy Carroll now look like prime. Ibrahimovic now. He's running the show. 3-2. Another calamity in defence. I'm not sure what Gabriel and Ospina were doing at that point, but credit to the boys. They clawed their way back into it. And got a draw, salvaged the draw out of what would have been an absolutely disastrous.
Credit to them. Credit to them.
Because
I
Mark, we've loads of times we have seen their heads drop and fall away. Loads of times we've seen their heads drop and fall away, and for me, maybe you guys see it differently, but I think it was, it showed some kind of heart to actually come back into the game and actually get something out of the game. It wasn't what we wanted. It's the final death knell in our season as far as I'm concerned, but it showed a little bit of desire to get back into the game. And I have to say that, as you said at the beginning of the conversation, Iwobi again was one of the star performers. 19-year-old, no right to run the game like he did. Our game like he did. The two assists were brilliant. I want to ask you all what positives you took out of the game. So I'll start with you, Mark. What positives do you take out of the game?
Positives?
Yeah. The bowling, getting into the bowling pub for the first time ever.
That was quite funny when going in their main pub was safer than going in some pub that was supposed to be for away fans. I'm trying to go through the team position wise and think of positives. I thought Iwobi, I thought El Neni, I thought El Neni and Coquelin played well together again. It's a combination that I like. I've got to give some credit to the club for having bought El Neni, because he was an inexpensive buy. If Leicester had bought El Neni and were partnering him with either Drinkwater or Conte, we'd be purring over him. So the club has done well with him. I thought Iwobi played well, as you say. I like Iwobi. I think he's putting a lot of shame on some of our more experienced players. I'm really struggling other than that, mate, to be honest.
I think what I liked about it was actually he dropped back into midfield and he looked just as comfortable in the centre of midfield as he did, on the wing. So it shows his versatility, didn't it, Clive?
Yeah, he's an Arsenal player. I've said it before. He's a classic academy product. I do like him. For the second goal, the way he flicked up that touch, he knows he's got 2 touches, but his first touch actually makes his second touch, and he's done that on purpose. He's flicked it up knowing I have to get it over the top of the defence, so my first touch has got to make it easy for me. That's a very intelligent footballer, right? So
I'll tell
he's
you what,
doing
Clive,
his job.
Clive, I'll tell you what, right? I'm going to make this a little bit difficult for you. Sorry to interrupt again. I've been drinking. Iwobi, some people will point to the fact that for 2 of their 3 goals, he lost
He gave the ball away.
Yeah, now I'm going to give you the opportunity
right?
to try and explain why maybe he's not to blame for that, or if he is, we'll just excuse him.
Well, he's not to blame for it, because again, he's doing what's okay. Don't forget, we just spoke about a tweet that the club has talked about a flick. That tells you what the culture is in the club.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about it, we're talking about it's okay, mate. You keep playing. We won't criticise you. But you know what? I do criticise you a little bit when you're 3 minutes away from half time. But none of us saw that coming. That's why I was going around the bar giving it the shush sign to all the West Ham fans in my bar. I wasn't worried about it. Won't be flicking around the corner when he set up the first 2 goals. He tried another flick. It didn't work. I'm not going to say, well, actually, he'd give the ball away. They scored. We had no pressure on the ball. We were too deep in defence. We didn't engage higher. We didn't get under Andy Carroll's body. We should be bouncing him so he can't get a run. He's the basis of defending. It's not about, any one defender. This is all 4 of them really did not do their jobs. He picks on fullbacks. Monreal didn't stop at source. Koscielny was just as bad. There was one ball down the left hand, down Monreal's side, when Andy Carroll really raced Koscielny, and I was surprised. I thought Koscielny should win that race, and it was a neck and neck, and Koscielny just got there, bits and pieces, got a bit scrappy. Andy Carroll was on fire. He plays 1 game a season, right, and that always gets him a new contract. And we just ran into it yesterday. But so I'm not going to criticise the kid. I'm not going to criticise him at all. I think it's the culture in our club, the environment, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not criticising him. I know
you're not.
People will.
I know
I
you're
want
not.
you to defend him, and I know you would.
No. I would. But something. I listened to an interview the other day. I don't know if you guys listen to the podcast. It's Graham Hunter's sort of big interview podcast.
Yeah, I was listening to it sometimes.
And he interviewed Jody Morris, right, who had a patchy career, an in and out career, but he's really forging a good coaching career, looking after the under-18s at Chelsea. And he was speaking about something called winning behaviours and how they drive that culture through the young kids. And I thought to myself, straight away, you think about your own club. And I thought about, do we have a culture of winning behaviours, or do we have what I call a playerish culture? And when I saw that Aaron Ramsey flick tweet, I know exactly the culture we have. We are ballers. We are players.
Can I come back on that, Clive? You say that Chelsea have a winning culture amongst their youth academy, but on the continent, that's not so much the goal, is it? Bringing kids up. I mean, after a certain age, it is, but bringing kids through, it's about being married to the ball.
When you say winning behaviours, right, that can encapsulate many, many different things. It's about managing moments, managing decisions, making good decisions. It doesn't mean you have to win. There are winning behaviours that can be developed, right? As long as you're progressing as a youth player and you haven't hit your ceiling, that's what it's all about. They're looking for progression and ceiling height. If you've got somebody that plateaus, you have to let them go. If you've got someone who's got the right behaviours, they live the right way, and they are delivering on the pitch, they're the ones that you keep. I always look at academies. I always think, I call it the Tom Cruise syndrome, right? So they all look for the Tom Cruise. In every academy year, there's one Tom Cruise. So the rest are support actors, right? So for Chelsea, Loftus-Cheeks is their Tom Cruise, right? So for us, Jack was our recent Tom Cruise, and we're still waiting for him at 24 to sort his legs out, right? So I do think there is something to be derived from having a winning culture. I don't think we should be saying that winning is not everything. Winning is important. And the most important thing is we develop players for the first team. But when they get there, are they going to be players that are used to winning, that want to win. And it's quite interesting that the players that at the youth level for Chelsea, I know they've got a different model to us. They flip houses, they flip players. But I do think they've got a much greater winning culture than we have in our youth teams. Yet, I watched the game on last week, which Arsenal Man City, and I bet you that there'll be more players from that team play for Arsenal's first team than Man City's first team.
Yeah, for me, I get the whole what the British culture is about, and that is winning from when you're 8 to right through the first team. It's not about your competency on the ball, your intelligence as a player. It's about how big you are, how fast you can run, and winning. That's what I see from British youth academies on the continent. It's completely different. I said to you last week, Eric Dyer's upbringing at Sporting Lisbon, completely different from what the typical British upbringing is. And that's why you don't see British youth academies winning in Europe against their contemporaries. Completely, our philosophy, as far as I'm concerned, on how we bring through our kids, it's completely backward. It's outdated. Graham Rich said it at an Arsenal fans meeting last year. Completely wrong. We start teaching kids how to play football at 14. What rubbish is that? How can you start teaching kids to play football at 14?
I don't know if you watched it. Did any of you watch the Arsenal Man City game last week?
I saw bits of it, yeah, on Arsenal TV, yeah.
I watched it. I watched it, and Man City had some real strong boys in centre mid. They had some really gritty boys that were very firing into challenges, and it got quite physical. But I looked at the game. They had a young number 10 called Diaz, who played in the striker, and their skipper. Yeah, their skipper was quite a tall, rangy player. Looks like a young Chris Smalling, right? He was quite decent. He managed Mavadivi quite well. But I looked at Arsenal's team. I looked at Chris Willett. I looked at Jeffrey Adelaide. I looked at those two. I thought, you're going to make it, right? There's a young right back called Johnson that's really appeared recently. I thought, you've got a chance. Right, you've really got a chance to play for Arsenal's first team. I look at the Man City team, and they were stronger than us. They've got greater winning behaviours in their team. But I guarantee you, those 3 players I just mentioned will play for Arsenal's first team, and will have a significant impact in our team. And so, which one's the right philosophy? We lost the game by the odd goal, but we're going to end up with 2 or 3 from that team in our first team for sure.
Yeah, but that all depends. It depends what they actually do, though. Then, Clive, it's like if they end up in the first team, it don't mean jack shit. It's what they do for the Arsenal first team that matters.
But then it comes back to what I was trying to talk about: winning behaviours. Yeah, and that's it. So we then flip philosophies, and that comes back to the manager. Is he driving the right winning behaviours? You've heard me talk about, does he have to win, mate? If he had to win, his job was on the line. Peter Cech plays yesterday. Simple as that. Why wouldn't you play him? You just spent money on him. He's one of the best keepers in Premiership history, if not the best. Why is he sitting on the sideline? Somebody tell me. I need. Has he got an injury I'm not aware of? Someone tell me, right? No. So he has to play. Yeah. If your job's on the line and you've got to achieve a certain target,
mate. If his job was on the line, Luis Suarez would be playing for Arsenal.
He has to play. He has to play. He has to play. Tell me a good reason why he didn't play. No one can, right? So that tells me he's just a really good, nice guy that facilitates careers and makes good moral decisions.
He's a humanist.
Not a moral game. It's about winning.
He's a humanist in my eyes. Alan. Yeah. Alan, positive. Yes. Give me a positive out of yesterday's game. Come on, please.
Oh. Hey, I tell you what. On the final whistle, just before the final whistle, Theo's back pass to Adrian was pretty accurate, weren't it? So we can take positive that he managed to find the keeper's hands from 35 yards. It was a lovely back pass.
Did anyone else, how many other people, when Sanchez went through and the ball was on his left foot, was screaming shoot?
Shoot, yeah. Shoot. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then he tries to come back again, and you're like, oh, why? My God, what are you doing?
Yeah. He shoots, he scores.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's
Sorry, I couldn't offer anything.
let's move on to what we need to do. I mean, going forward, the rest for next season. Now, this will incorporate squad building, wage structures, everything. We were talking about this before we came on air. The way how we pay players, what we should be paying players, what kind of players we need in the squad. I'm going to start with you, Mark, and then Alan, and then finish with Clive. Mark.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing players through, in terms of how we pay players and breed players, and then the mentality. What do you want to see from Wenger this summer?
A resignation letter on the desk of Ivan Gazidis. Does that answer the question? It's not really anything to do with youth players. You just asked me what I'd like to see from Wenger. No, I mean I don't know. I mean I think it's not just us. It's English young players get rewarded too much too soon. I mean, I know I'm not harking back to the days in the 80s when we had YTS trainees in cleaning the boots of the senior players and getting hazed all the time. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for a more realistic. And actually, maybe I'm being unrealistic in thinking that we shouldn't be paying them too much money. I mean, if you look at Iwobi. Now, everybody anyone who follows me on Twitter will know I like Iwobi. I've likened him to a young Rocastle. He's young, he's hungry, he wants the ball. I like the kid. Does that mean he should be being paid £35,000 a week? I don't think so, but I mean. Also, then on the flip side of that, I'm saying how much he is shaming Oxlade-Chamberlain and Theo Walcott, who's even if he's getting 35 grand a week, Theo's getting 100 grand a week more, and is not putting in the amount of effort that Iwobi is. So it's I don't want to be hypocritical about it, but the money that they get so young is just ridiculous. And I know you want to bring in maybe English players from other clubs to the discussion as well. So I don't know. I just think we give them too much, and are we then giving the foreign players not quite as much because we can get away with that? Do the English players, do we have to pay them more because they've got more of a premium when we're selling them on? I don't know, mate. Yeah, I'll stick with Arsene Wenger's resignation. Thank you very much.
Alan, let's go. Now that Mark started down the youth player route or the young players and paying them route. There's been rumours this week that Iwobi's been going to be offered in excess of 30k a week, whereas we all thought it was going to be 10k a week. In isolation, you might think, he's done well. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's been knocking at the door all season, paying what he's worth, if that's what he's worth. When I compare it to players of his contemporaries at other clubs, I wonder to myself, have we got it right? Are we getting it right?
Do you know what? In this case, I'd sooner be paying him 30k a week with bags of potential than wasting the money on some of the older players we got in our squad who are taking up a hell of a lot of that percentage of what is our total wage bill over the course of a year. And reason being is that you do have to give these players decent contracts to stave off the interest from the clubs that can probably spend a little bit more than us. The flip side to that is if you've got players that are increased from what is a youth team wage of, a few thousand a week up until the fact that they're going to become millionaires overnight and earn 30k a week, the manager and people around the club have to manage the word is there. They have to manage the fact that these guys have had a change in their life. And we don't seem to be able to drag those players through that process particularly well, particularly the English players. And, you've seen Jack's indiscretions in recent weeks. He still doesn't seem to be able to cope with it. Someone like Theo Walcott's actually sort of gone the other way. I'm not saying he's disruptive off the pitch. He just seems to have switched off. So that hunger and desire still needs to be there. And I think a lot of people say this. Once you're earning, say, it might sound flippant, but once you're earning, say, 30k a week, you've already made it 5 or 4. Isn't really much of a difference in your life. I mean, it's big money to the rest of us, but there's just that switch, isn't there, between having the potential and then making it in terms of your wage. And when these guys make it in terms of their wage, they still need to harbour all the desire they had as young players, and that needs to be channeled in the right way on the pitch, and that comes from the manager again.
The reason why I asked about Iwobi, and there's a good point, Sir Madden, is on the one, if you look at his contemporaries, I'll take 2 of his contemporaries. You've got Loftus-Cheek at Chelsea, who's on reported 60k a week, come through their youth academy. Hasn't really done much from what I can see in the first team. I think he scored a goal or 2, but you know. And then you've got Dele Alli, who's come up through the leagues, same age, 19. Came to Tottenham at £3.5 grand, I think they gave him, and then when he got his first England cap, they bumped up to 12.5, and now he's on 25. Come the end of the Euros, you're probably on at least 60 or maybe double, 50, 60k a week. Here we have 3 examples of young players coming through, breaking through this season, and I'm not sure which is the right one to follow here. Because Loftus-Cheek, you're paying Loftus-Cheek 60 grand a week now. What's his next contract negotiation going to be? If he gets 20 games next season, his days is going to be knocking on Conte's door saying, "I want an increase." Does he deserve an increase? I mean, then as Alan was saying, you start to worry about players' mentality and their desire to do better. When you're on 60k a week, you've already made it. I mean, that is big Premiership money, Clive.
It is, right, but we're forgetting something. They're not doing it because they really want to. They're doing it because they have to. It's all driven by the homegrown quota, right? So when you have a player that's English, British, that's homegrown, that can play Champions League football, you have to remember that. We're not talking about just staying in the Premiership. We're talking about finding a player that within 90 miles of your ground, which that's what used to be the rules, that can play Champions League level football. That can play against Barcelona and Bayern Munich. That's a miracle, right, if you find that player. So when you have one, you have to cherish it. And that's why we spend £50 million on Oxlade-Chamberlain, and his next contract that he wants more than £100,000 a week. And some people are looking around thinking, well, what have you done? Well, he's only playing to his market. He knows he's an international Champions League level football, and everyone at the top 4 clubs want that player. They need that player in their squad, because to have that player in their squad means they can go and buy another foreign player at X money that's at the right level. So we've got a few. We can debate their quality, but we have a few. And that's what's driving the cost structure, right? And I do agree about it. I am less worried about Iwobi's money, because right now, like 2-0 yesterday, Iwobi was worth a lot more than 30 grand a week. I'll tell you that. He was my hero, right? So, but I'm more concerned about the pensions that we offer people. I'm more concerned about the 30 plus players that are on 60, 70 grand a week that are no longer contributing to the squad on the pitch. And we carry them. And then when I look at our wage bill in comparison to other people's wage bill, I have really got a concern about our running costs. And when you look at our running costs, we made a £3 million loss in the last 6 months. This is Arsenal, right? This is £9 for fish and chips Arsenal, right? This is the highest costs, going into the ground, the highest costs on fruit gate money in the whole of the world. Yet we made a £3 million loss. Someone needs to look at how we're running our club financially on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes too much money makes you less smart about how you spend it. I really would like to see our wage bill questioned, our running costs questioned, because that's not why we left Highbury to come to Emirates and then just blow money and give it to people that don't deserve it. Because if you look at Leicester's wage bill, let's look at Spurs' wage bill. We are 80 million above Spurs' wage bill. That's a minimum estimate, right? So are we seeing that on the pitch? We win our game in hand, 3 points behind. But £80 million, that's a lot of money. That's so, mate, I'm sorry. It's a lot of money. It's been on my mind for a long time. There are people smarter than me on the financial side. I tend to like the football side, but I'm hoping Alan's going to come steaming in now, right? So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I'm not. We need to question it. We need to question why and where that money's going, because we're not seeing the quality for what we spend, what we give. You know, you've all been to the Arsenal many times, mate. You can't get in that shop. You can't get in it. You go in there, you get out, you're going to pass out. You can't get in it. It's money coming through those tills all the time. It's incredible money-making machine. Where's it going?
Alan, over to you. I mean, Clive was really, as I was going to bring up the disparity between our wage bill and Tottenham's wage bill. And, you know, where we're going wrong, or where we seem to be going wrong in terms of how we're remunerating players. I mean, as I said, we've got Iwobi, who's purportedly going to be on 30 grand a week. And then we've got people like Walcott, who's on more money than Cech.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it needs illustrating as a yearly total just to get a grasp of how much Theo Walcott earns from the club. It's £7.25 million a year. It's quite a staggering figure, even if you're one of those that says that he does still have a future at the club. Even if you're a fan of Theo Walcott and his contribution at Arsenal, you would still have to look at that figure again when written down as on a piece of paper as a yearly salary that he takes from the club, and find it quite staggering. But you then also look at people like Thomas Rosicky, and I know that there are a lot of Arsenal fans that are huge fans of Thomas Rosicky. I can't quite square that at all. And you know, there was obviously talk that this being his 10th year, if he did stay, if he did get, you know, that one extra year extension, that he was going to be offered a testimonial. And I think that would have been absolutely scandalous, that someone who has contributed so little to the club, albeit at times being a fantastic player in flashes of brilliance, but just hasn't dug in. And I think his whole attitude was summed up by the Newcastle 4-4, where, you know, a very lazy performance that day that let them back into that game, and, you know, was one of the most shocking games of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal career. But it just showed me that, yes, you know, he's that player, but his absences, and you can say he's been unlucky with injuries, but it just, to me, seems that is a total waste. So there's so much of that going on. I mean, even to the extent that Diaby, Arsene Wenger was still trying to find a way that he could still pay Diaby and keep him as part of the squad until the absolute last moment that it was, you know, clear that he wasn't going to have an Arsenal career. And again, as I said earlier, nobody writes, you know, the final call of a manager by saying, "Oh, how loyal and how wonderful that you did that." You shouldn't be judged on that. So, you know, it's all well and good that he's thinking that he wants to, you know, give Diaby every single chance to play, but that ruthlessness would not be shown by some of the greatest managers we've ever had in this country. You imagine Sir Alex Ferguson putting up with someone like Rosicky, and the way that he has, you know, bled the club dry over 10 years and only been a factor for what, 25% of his career has been selected. He's been available. It's just those kind of things that make Iwobi's 30k pale into insignificance.
Mark, wastage on the wage bill. That's what we're talking about. How do we square that, to take Alan's phrase?
We've
If I'm
I
right,
mean, you know,
we've got the fourth highest operating bill, wage bill in the Premier League.
yeah.
If
I
I'm
mean,
right, and
you look at it, and you know, for years we've lived with paying off the stadium, and yeah, money's tight, and we're going to have to sell our best players in order to pay off the interest payments and that, and all that's, you know, we're past all that now, and the interest payments that we've got for the next 20 years or however long is quite easily managed, as long as we don't fucking implode. No, I mean there's a lot of it. There's a lot of that goes on, and I think Alan summed it up really with what he said there, and 100% with what he said about Diaby. You know, I mean, nobody feels. You know, Clive's a big fan of Diaby. You know, we all remember the game at Anfield where Diaby played and he bossed the game. He absolutely bossed the game. And Diaby could have been a brilliant player, and he gets a lot of unnecessary stick from Arsenal fans purely because the club and the manager gave him so much time to try and prove that he could get back to the player that he should have been. Yeah, his career as a footballer was ruined by some wanker called Dan Smith at Sunderland with an unnecessary dirty challenge at the end of a game that Sunderland were losing 3-0 or something. Yeah, so people shouldn't really blame Diaby for any of that. Yeah, his career was ruined. That man he would probably, if you gave him the choice, he would probably have played the 10 seasons after that for free to actually have played the football that he could have played for Arsenal. So people shouldn't have a go at Diaby. They should look at actually the people behind possibly giving him so much time and putting so much faith in it. And although, you know, to an extent you have to admire that. So I don't know. It's just a long running thing. It's like Rosicky. Why did we take up the option on Rosicky? We've talked about it before. What was the point? What was the point in keeping him on for another year, and however much his wages have cost us? I would say the same for Arteta, to be perfectly honest. I would probably say the same for Flamini, regardless of the 2 goals at the lane. You know, that money would have been better spent on a player like, I don't know, someone who maybe wasn't available, like Conte, who Leicester managed to find. Yeah, Leicester City, that giant mega power in European football, who managed to find him alongside Mahrez and Vardy and all the other players that they found, that we couldn't spot because obviously we're shopping too high, and if we can't get Suarez for 40 million and a quid, then nobody else is available. There's a lot of money wasted at our club. You know, Wilshere is going to become the new poster boy and anti-poster boy for the 2 camps that will say, you know, why are you spending so much money paying this guy wages? He's never going to be fit enough to justify it. Against, no, we can't get rid of him because he's the future of Arsenal Football Club and he's the future of England. So, you know, it's just like a conveyor belt of people that come along and play the whole wages in, wages out game. So I don't really give a shit anymore.
All right. Just quickly touching on Wilshere, impact injuries. How do we try and ensure that he doesn't suffer from them anymore? Do we change his position? Do we ask him to change the way he's playing, Mark?
I think if you look at, we've really missed Santi Cazorla. Really missed him, I believe, mainly due to mismanagement by the team at half time at Norwich. But that's another issue. I think we've missed him badly. I think the closest thing we've got to a Santi Cazorla replacement is Jack Wilshere in terms of technical ability and brain power. Jack would have to adjust his game, though, to play the Santi game. He would have to look to get rid of the ball a lot quicker, play more passes than he's running with the ball. You know, Jack's problem is always that sometimes he'll run with the ball and he'll overrun it slightly and he'll still go for it and he'll leave those fucking glass ankles open to get crunched. And if he comes back and he does exactly the same thing, that is what will happen. He will get his ankles whacked again and we will go through exactly the same process as we have done for the last year. So I'd like to think that Jack needs to be taught, as he's getting older as well, you know, so he needs to be taught, you know, maybe you need to change your game a little bit. It hasn't been working out for you so far. You know, you've done great when you've played. Everybody remembers him bossing Barcelona, but that was a long time ago. He hasn't reached those sort of levels since, bar the goal against Norwich. Yeah? Norwich. So I think it would be really good if people could say to Jack, look at the likes of Xabi Alonso, look at what Santi does for us. Change your game. You have got everything in your locker to play exactly that style of football. And what it means is that you won't get whacked quite as much, and you can actually just sit back and control a game from that position. So I'd like to see that, because I fear for him otherwise. Because if he just carries on doing what he's doing, I think it's wash, rinse, repeat.
Clive, what's your quick thoughts on Jack?
Yeah, I watched the Jack game last week against Newcastle, and I'm sorry, mate. He's a natural footballer. As soon as you see him, the way he receives the ball, on the half turn, side on, back foot, he's a wonderful footballer. He really is. I do worry about the injuries that he's had and what he's done during the time he's been off. I think he's built his thighs up to a point now where I don't think he's as mobile as he used to be. He doesn't cover the ground as well, and when he does, it's almost like he's running with a limp. He's definitely, for me, I like him in the holding position. I like him definitely at the base of the team, just dictating the game. He can do it with his eyes shut. He is a natural top-class footballer. But I'm afraid he's almost got small man syndrome. Even in that game, he was confrontational. He got involved in things. There were moments watching the game, you just watch it and you worry for him. He brings it forward and he flicks that ball just before he gets smashed. He done it 3 or 4 times in an under-21 game. I do worry. I'm with you, Mark, 100%, but I'm not sure he can change. And I just think we're going to go through a period of him suffering another injury. Hopefully it won't be a season every time he gets kicked. But, yeah, I think it's one to watch. I don't think it's going to be positive.
Alan, before you, as well as answering the question about where you think Jack should play, I want to ask about his lifestyle. Wenger said it's not his lifestyle, it's going to be injuries that determine whether he'll have a long, healthy career or otherwise. What do you think about the whole furore this last week? Getting caught up in in whatever happened in central London. Then his girlfriend's dad is now his dozer hairdresser or whatever. What do you say about these lives? What's your opinion about the lifestyles of these footballers, these young footballers?
I don't know. As we said earlier, I mean, I found it a baffling decision for Jack Wilshere sitting there in his house 10 or so days ago, yeah. And obviously one of his mates says to him, right, we're going out tonight to a club. Do you fancy coming? And at that particular point in his mind, and we've all been young, we've all made stupid decisions, but in that particular point in his mind, he should really be thinking, right, I've just got fit again. I know I'm playing in this game against Newcastle for the under-21s. I know that it's been quite a pivotal week in terms of the England squad and the players that have staked a claim, and I've probably still got a chance. I just don't know how he comes to the conclusion that he should have gone out that night. I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. And in the picture that I saw, he actually looks quite bleary-eyed. So, you're actually maybe suggesting that he probably had a couple of beers. I just don't get it. I just don't get what would make him think that it was a bright thing to do. I really don't. And it brings to mind, we, as a company, we invite, I know some of the Leicester players, so I invited them to our box at Cheltenham. So what was that? A few weeks ago, about
the Cheltenham Festival, yeah.
3.5 weeks ago for the Cheltenham Festival.
Oh, was it the footballers that were pissing into the cup? Was that what you're going to say?
No, I'm not. Actually, I can tell you about that. I mean, I think he's been a bit hard done by, but that's another story. But I was just saying, the Leicester players, we invited them. They played Newcastle on the Monday night. We offered them Tuesday or Wednesday. I think Tuesday they had a recovery session. Wednesday they were off. So they booked it in for the Wednesday and said, look, we'll see how it goes. And one of the senior advisors at the club that Ranieri brought in said to them, look, guys, you've got about 40 more Cheltenham festivals you could go to when you stop playing football. You got one chance to win the Premier League. So, unfortunately, I'm putting a block on your trip. They got in touch, quite polite about it, and they said, look, we've been told this. And I thought to myself, you know what? That's the right decision, isn't it? So someone's made that decision for them. Jack's decision that he's come to by his own volition is just staggering. In that week, to think he can go out, because nights he can go out on the piss with his mates if he wants to in the future. That was just a staggering beyond belief that he chose to go out that night. Do you want to know about the guys with a cup at Cheltenham Festival?
Go on.
Just to quickly say, it was an agent running the box. He's not a particularly nice fella, but he's got a few players in non-league and League One, League Two, a few of the lower divisions. Outside their box, nothing to do with them, there was a potential assault, a fight with another football team that weren't invited by them, got into a row with a couple of lads. The police and the stewards said that no one could leave their box because they were dealing with this potential assault outside. There were no toilets in that box. They'd been in there 42 minutes without a toilet to go in. So he obviously relieved himself in a plastic glass and then poured it. Now, the way that the picture's been cut for the paper, it looks like he's poured it onto a crowd off a balcony. He's actually, what was below him was just a grass verge and some stones. There weren't people around for about another 200 yards in front of that box. It's way down the course. So look, maybe a stupid thing to do if you know that cameras might be being pointed at you, but certainly not as bad as the picture was cut and the whole story was made out.
Okay, coolio. So what do you reckon then? Jack's position, do you and sort of like eradicating or minimising these impact injuries, do you think he's got to change his style of playing, or do you think Wenger would be better served doing what Roy Hodgson's has done and bringing him, playing him in a deeper position to lengthen his career?
The only thing about that is who do you get rid of? who do you move out to accommodate him? I mean,
Arteta, Firmino.
Well, yeah, but those guys aren't getting games at the moment either, are they?
True.
So,
yeah,
I mean, if I suppose the better question is, if everyone was fit and Arsenal were playing, a bog standard mid-table team at home in the Premier League, and every player was fit, what lineup would you go with? In which formation? And if Jack gets into it, where does he play? And if you were to say that, my answer would be, I'm not quite sure he gets into it. Am I talking rubbish? Is it? I know a lot of people. I mean, I respect Clive's opinion on the way Clive watches football and then dissects it in his tweets. I always learn from that. So if Clive tells me that's absolute rubbish in the way that he plays football, then I'm happy to be told. I mean, I've seen some of the brilliant things he's done down the years. I just don't think he gets into the balance of our team.
Mark, where would you see Mark? How would you fit Jack into the team? Mark.
As I said earlier, mate, I think he fits in to the side alongside a DM to be the DM breaks up the play and just feeds the deep line playmaker, and that is Jack. And then Jack just spreads the ball about. I just see him doing that. I just think if you're asking him to play anything else, you go back to what Clive said, and his game is that he's gonna go in for every ball, and the minute he loses a little bit of control of the ball, he's waving that ankle around, and I'm afraid his ankles will not take that. It's as simple as that. Physiologically, some players have a weakness. You know, with Owen, it was his hamstrings. You pick other players and you can find where their weakness was. And with Jack, it's his ankles. And I just think that if he just carries on doing the same things, we are just seeing the same thing happening time and time again. And eventually, the whole thing about Jack being a homegrown player as such, in being English and in being one of the lads that buys him a lot of time as well, it will just wear out, mate, and he'll just become another target for people to hammer. So unless he changes and unless he looks at his career and says, right, you know what, I've done well to get this far, maybe now I need to look at what style I'm going to play and where I fit in with the team and that. And I've sat and I've watched while I've been at home with me leg up, with a bag of frozen peas on my ankle. I've watched what Santi's done for this team, and there is nothing about Santi, there's nothing that Santi's got that I haven't got in my locker. And therefore I need to go and I need to learn how to play that game. So I'm going to go and I'm going to watch Santi. I'm going to talk to him. You know, I'm going to watch Xavi Alonso. I'm going to watch the other players like that, and I'm going to learn how to play that role. And I'm going to stop needing to chase that ball and getting crunched. And I'm just going to protect myself, and I'm going to make myself a brilliant career for Arsenal Football Club and for England.
I also think, I get exactly what you guys are saying. For me, I think we shouldn't be wedded to one system. At the moment, we play two. We play two sitting, and then four up front. Basically, you could incorporate Jack by playing the system that Roy Hodgson plays, which is play him at the base, play him in the Pirlo role, the quarterback role, and then have the two and have someone like, I don't know, a Coquelin and maybe an El Nene, or a Coquelin and maybe a Ramsey running on, play him in a 3-man midfield. We don't need to be wedded to one system.
No, exactly.
Where I think you can, and I think that's where you could probably get Jack in and play him in that deeper role, therefore protecting him, and and he's controlling, he's orchestrating the game. I think.
Yeah, definitely, mate. No, I agree with that 100%. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not hung up on him having, us having to play a DM and then the DLM next to him. Yeah, it's not got to be like that. But I just think Jack cannot carry on doing what he's doing. I just don't think it's going to work for him.
Clive, we were talking about, and now you're back in the room, we were talking about where you'd play Jack.
I just heard you touching on the 4-3-3, right? And I really like that. I think we are so wedded to a number 10 in Ozil, and Ozil's the best number 10, but we've got no one else like him. I think a 4-3-3, we get more from more players, right? So we spent half the season worrying about our centre midfield partnership. We finally got one that's working, and we like it. We win a couple of games. We messed up yesterday a little bit, but we put a lot of odds on that 2 in front. Loads of teams play with 2 in front, but I do like a true 4-3-3 with 3 in and 3 high. Like Barcelona play. I do like that. I think it can get a little bit more from Jack. It creates an environment where he can play with 2 partners and do well. And the same for Ramsey, who obviously I don't agree with him playing in the 2 because he vacates the area too much. But in the 3, he's a different animal. And all his strengths become positives. His mobility, his work rate, his energy. When he hasn't got to provide structure of one of the 2, he's a different player. So I think it could benefit Jack. I think it could benefit Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think it could benefit Iwobi.
And Arsenal.
Get more from our squad with a 4-3-3, But at the moment we're so dependent on that 2. We've got one combination that works in Santi and Coquelin, and we maybe found another one that works in El Neni and Coquelin. But
God help us if any of those 2 drop out, get injured.
Exactly. If any of those 2 are not there, then we don't work as a unit, right? So maybe a little change in shape would be beneficial.
All right, let's move on to listeners' questions. I'm going to give you each question each. So first question goes to you, Alan. It's from @Fards20, and he asks, how do we get our defence back to or near the ability of the Invincibles?
we clone Sol Campbell, Kolo Toure, and Lauren and Ashley Cole. Geez, I mean, look, you can't really replicate it, because I think of all the what you used to call unseen work that Gilberto Silva used to do in front of them as well. I don't know how you can. I mean, look, the players that we've got at the moment that would form our first choice back 4 are all good players in their own way, but all have deficiencies that when they actually come to light, you realise that we've just not got the 100% right people. It's a bit like the Giroud factor with him playing up front. It's just people point to his goals, but then if you look at the chances and creation, if you dig down deep into our defence, you can see that they're not quite the level required, collectively and individually. So unless you ripped it up and started again, I'm not sure. And we talked about the desire of the Leicester players earlier and the way that they defend. And, most of the time, seasoned observers of the game would probably pick our players first. It's just how they play together and how they actually instill that desire and will to win. So unless you get that mindset from that Invincible side, I don't think it's something you could tactically change or employ into the players that we've got at the moment. So it would take a massive change in attitude or personnel. It's slightly related, but I wanted to make the other point that a lot of lazy pundits last year, when we beat Man City away, after that, and even up till quite recently, the lazy pundit phrase was that now Arsenal could beat those big teams. I've just been working on a little stats piece, and this is our number of victories against the top 10 teams in the Premier League. So the big teams, the top half. 2011-12, 9. 2012-13, 7. 2013-14, 7 again. 2014-15, the year we beat City, it went down to 6. This season, if we don't win at City, it will be 5.
Regression.
So we've actually gone backwards at something that the public and the lazy pundits publicly think that we're getting right. So, I mean, perception seems to count for far more than actual fact, whether you're discussing defences or performances or, ability to beat big teams. So rip it up and start again would be my answer.
Okay, Clive, next question from @PowerSpying1. They ask, do you ever, I'm not going to ask Mark and I'm not going to ask Alan, so it's just coming to you. Do you ever see us winning the Premier League with Wenger in charge?
Oh, don't give that one to Mark. It'll be a two-word answer. And the second word will be off. So, I don't think so. I actually don't think so. There's nothing that's telling me that it's going to change, right? So, I've got a lot of admiration for him, but he's got a lot of faults. And when the crunch comes to make the decisions, there's only one decision to make yesterday. Do I play my number one goalkeeper or do I not? And he chose to be the nice guy. That tells me, no, you're not tuned to winning. You are tuned to development. It is really interesting that he kept Iwobi on the pitch for the whole game yesterday. He played well. He moved him around. He didn't want to take him off. I think he'll walk away from that game thinking, I have seen Alex Iwobi away in the London derby, play for 90 minutes in 2 or 3 positions. He played left, he played right, he played centre mid. That's my tick in the box. And then I'll win my games against Palace and West Brom and Villa, and I'll win that Norwich, and I'll win those games, and I'll get my top 4. And Alex Iwobi will be a top player for me next year. He's on £30 a week. And I might sell someone to get the money in the bank. That's how he operates, mate. Targets are set.
All right. Mark, question for you. Was the Gooner asks, when Wenger inevitably stays next season, do you think it'll be beneficial to change our number 2?
Number 2, you mean Bakary Sagna? I got no clue where's number 2 for us at the moment. I take it you mean like Borough Primorac, Steve Bold. No, of course not, because the fucking Wenger's in charge. Wenger's in charge. Yeah, it doesn't matter, jack shit. And I'll tell you what, right, I've had enough of Baldy now. All right, because you remember a few years back we were like, oh, Wenger, no, Wenger doesn't do defending. We need to give Baldy a chance. And then, apparently Baldy got a chance to work with the defence, and we went for a few games with clean sheets and that, and everyone was like, you see, look, you let Baldy. Fuck Steve Bold, right? And he's a big fucker, and I'll come and see him anytime he wants. Fuck Steve Bold, yeah? He is as big a problem as Arsene Wenger, the same way that all of them are, because none of them do anything to challenge the man. None of them make a single bit of difference. Until Arsene Wenger is gone, we cannot get somebody in who will look at the rest of the management at that club, yeah, in every single department, and go, you, fuck off, and bring some people in who are going to actually make a difference and shake things up and make Arsenal Football Club what it should be. So no, it doesn't make a difference what you do with number 2 or number 3 or number 4, because the only problem at Arsenal Football Club is number 1.
Alan.
Superb answer, by the way. It's exactly as I would have answered it. apart from calling Baldy out for a fight because I'm a bit smaller.
Alan, next one for you. A specific one for you actually from @Has_AFC, and he asks, quick question to Alan: would you sell Theo Walcott and get a proper wing forward like Marco Reus?
I mean, if he follows me on Twitter, he knows the answer already, doesn't he? I think if we can con anyone out of a fair amount for Mr. Walcott this summer, then he needs to go anyway, regardless of whether we replace him with Royce or not.
Coolio, that's your question. All right, good. Next question to you, Clive. We've got from @Petite Ponytail, and they ask, why have we built a side from the top to the back again? I think it's top heavy, basically, he means.
No, I think he's just thinking we haven't put enough emphasis on our defence, right? And
yeah,
I think you gave a question to defence to Alan earlier, and what I was thinking about, I don't want to sound like Stuart Robson here, but we don't have a consistent defensive strategy. Right, so there was a time where you could tell how Arsenal defended. Right, people used to laugh at us about offside trap, etc. And then we moved on to, the invincible back four, who were, very good one-on-one defenders. Right, they were brilliant. Each one of them, one-on-one, unbeatable. Right, so we have these four defenders right now who I think are really talented. Really talented. They're quick. They're agile. They're decent on one-on-ones, apart from yesterday out wide, we weren't quite focused. And they're good at their duels. But you know what? There's no strategy. There's no defensive strategy. And that means if we're under pressure, we don't manage stress very well because we haven't got a strategy to refer to if someone makes a mistake. Right, so that's an issue. Okay, Wenger likes his number 10s, and he has done since Kleb came along. Alex Kleb came along, Fabregas came along, Rosicky came along. Those number 10s, Nasri, he loved them. That's what he wanted. He stuck Flamley in there for a bit of solidity. He likes ball players, and that's the area of the pitch that he looks for. And at 2-0 yesterday, we looked fantastic, and all those lovely number 10s behind our forward and running down the sides looked great. But the moment the first stress came in, we conceded an 8-minute collapse, and that's Arsenal, and that is our issue, and it will continue to repeat until we maybe. I don't want to sound like the other two, right? I don't want to use the word change, but it's obvious, right? Is he going to change, or do we have to change him? I'm not sure he's going to change.
All right, last two questions. Mark from the real K Cost asks, what are the tactical changes needed against a big centre forward? We've discussed this basically, but just to summarise, quick summary, what tactical changes would you like to see us employ against a big centre forward if we come up against one again?
Well, I think there's three things. One is leadership and in-game management on the pitch. Yeah, to deal with situations and like that. One is Alan said earlier, and I slightly disagree. I think we do have a better back four, man for man, but collectively we don't. I think I'm not sure whether he said individually we. No,
I said I did say I said it the way you said it there. Individually, you'd pick them, but as a whole, when you actually line them up as a whole, it seems to go wrong.
Right, sorry, mate. I apologise for that.
We all agree, really. There's no strategy there, is there? Strategy.
Man for man, we have a better back four than most teams, but collectively they don't work together because I think there's just a general lack of leadership and organisation there. And the third thing is actually having someone who coaches a team and manages a team and motivates a team and sends a team out to deal with the Premier League. Now, it'd be interesting to see next season when Guardiola comes over, because Guardiola won't be used to a league where you've got so many teams with such a variety of different playing styles, and where all of those playing styles have to be played in a league that is 100 miles an hour in terms of speed and fucking kilotons of passion behind every single challenge that goes in. So I'm not convinced that Guardiola will be the success that everyone is thinking he is. I would have loved to have seen him at Arsenal. I think he would have done a brilliant job at Arsenal. He was the ideal manager for us, in my opinion, because the playing style matched everything that we already have. and he matched the ethos of the club. But I still think he would have still had difficulties in adapting. So I'll be interested to see at City, because it's slightly different. They're very much a newer club than we are, if in real terms, not obviously in history terms. But so I think it would take a manager that would actually do something about it. So there are three changes. There's desire, there's leadership, and there's management.
I tell you what, Mark, you're quite right. He's used to managing teams that are at the top of their game. They're not used. He's not used to a league where any team could actually beat a big boy on any given weekend. I mean, it might happen once in a while with Barcelona if they take their eye off the ball, or Bayern Munich, but in this league it happens a lot.
Yeah,
the gap between the top and go on.
Yeah, that's only going to get worse next season. You know what I mean? You got that huge TV deal coming in next year. So even even clubs, and no disrespect to them, but even clubs like Bournemouth, who I believe are going to survive, and I would not have given any money on them surviving. I thought Bournemouth would be straight back down. So they've done a brilliant job, allied to the fact that other bigger clubs, shame on Aston Villa, have been so completely.
Newcastle spent a lot of money this summer under McLaren.
But I think that that money coming in will allow clubs. You look at Stoke and some of the players that they got, like Shaqiri and Afellay and that. These players they haven't come to Stoke because Stoke's a lovely place. It's fucking not. They haven't come to Stoke to win trophies, because that's not that likely to happen. They've come for one reason only, and that is the money. And so therefore, with all the money that every single Premier League club will have next season, they are going to attract better players. It's just so obvious. And unfortunately, I think, going back to what we said earlier about English youth players, a lot of those will be foreign players. So you'll probably see even less English young players getting a chance, because you can quite easily buy technically better, doesn't mean they're better players, but they're technically better foreign players, and they will all be coming to this country because it's the fucking land of milk and honey, mate.
Well, the thing is, Mark, you don't have to nurture, right? Because you can go and buy the ready-made model out there, and you've got the money to do so. So if you've got a chance, do I nurture a 19-year-old Iwobi, or do I buy Kevin De Bruyne? And that's what Man City are doing, and that's what Wenger is doing. So it's a difference in philosophy. We don't have to nurture, but how we're buying and who we're buying at the cost that we're buying, I've got real concerns about that. I don't think we're buying well as a league. I just don't think we are. I don't think we're buying well, and the European results are showing that. And yes, we've got lots of money, and yes, the German league is wide about the influx of their players coming over to the Premiership, and the same in Spain. Let's see what happens next year, because we could really damage those leagues if we buy smartly. We've got the money to do so, top to bottom in the league. So it'll be interesting to watch next year, especially this summer, how we go.
Spot on, mate.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so guys, I want to wrap it. I want to thank you all for coming in. Clive and Mark, as always, thank you guys. And also to a special guest, Alan Nager. Alan, it's been a pleasure again. Do come on again when you have a moment.
Very enjoyable, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, so catch us on all the platforms. SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and if you're on our Android, you can catch us on Acast, Stitcher, and Player FM. That's been a Gooner Ramble podcast. I've been your host, Giles. Thank you and good night.